Ladies and gents, welcome back. We're going into another week where we're going to be visiting this inquiry. I know a lot of you have a hard time having the inquiry in your ears all the time. I'm trying to do this because I want to get as much information to you guys as I can and a valid opinion on what's going on. But I also want to include other people's opinions, and this is a perfect opportunity for me. I brought on a special guest to talk to us about the inquiry, and he is, of course, one of the organizers of the convoy that went into Ottawa, for which they invoked the Emergencies Act, and we have yet to see any evidence of justification for that. But that, of course, is BJ Dichter. BJ Dichter, welcome to the show.
Good to see you, brother.
So we've been going, it's a week and a bit now. So we've had testimony after testimony in this inquiry, and I just lost your picture. I don't know why I was back. And the inquiry has been for the purposes of justifying the use of the Emergencies Act. Now, we have yet to see anything like that in the testimonies. What have we been seeing apart from that? And you know some inside baseball of how politics work, so just run us through that real quick.
Well, you're seeing a good example of the bureaucracy doing what the bureaucracy does, which is it was him, right? All they're doing is, oh, it wasn't us. The PLT should have done it. No, the RCMP, like everybody is throwing each other under the bus because during the Freedom Convoy, and maybe that's part of the reason we didn't eventually get to talk to anybody, is because none of them wanted to take any responsibility for the responsibilities of their jobs. Like, it was absolutely hysterical. And I think that's to be predicted. That's what I thought was happening in Ottawa. So despite some of the organizational structural problems we dealt with, and the first week we just spent on systematizing processes in Ottawa. But the government everybody, oh, it's not us. And apparently it got to the point where it came to blows. They all started yelling at each other, and everybody, they might as well just been saying, that simple word, that simple phrase that everybody in government knows and utilizes, which is, that's not my job. Because that's all they were doing. Not my job. OPP, not my job. RCMP, not my job. That's it.
That's incredible. It's incredible because that's what we're seeing. And we're also seeing, I think it was with McKenney, she was using her testimony as, it felt like a springboard into her platform for running for mayor, doing her best job to just throw the current mayor under the bus for what happened at the inquiry. But we did see another side of things. We saw the police, several different members of different police units talking about what was going on. Now, there's been a lot more professional look from them. What's your take on the police side of the testimonies here?
Well, on the policing side, you could see who is applying for a job and who just doesn't care anymore and is looking forward to retirement, right? So Pat Morris has been a cop for 36 years, I think he said. And I loved his statement. I don't know how the fake news media is going to spin this. The lack of violence was shocking as people crossed the entire country. Thousands of people, thousands of trucks. I guess it's not a few hundred trucks then, was it? So thousands of trucks drove across the country, and the lack of violence was shocking. That always stuck with me. But then there was another guy, I think he was a superintendent, which is, I know from family and policing, they tend to be the most corrupt people in policing. And one of them was clearly just applying for a job. And whatever was the narrative from the government and the media, he was spinning. I can't remember his name, the guy with the glasses.
Okay.
And couldn't believe a word he was saying. It's like, all right, you're what I hear from my family. You're the kiss ass who's just looking for a political job and everything that's wrong with policing. But I thought Pat Morris was significant and quite honest and astute, and probably because he's close to retirement, he doesn't care.
Yeah, and well, he's head of intelligence. That was Pat Morris, and
that's right.
He was talking about, and his job is to go in and find out who these people are, they're organizing any sort of protest or whatever, the intelligence that they have they need in, and he's there to report on what the situation is. Now, in that, I think right there is enough to say that, well, there was no justification. But it seems like the media now is trying to spin it as in a way that the the agencies were so incompetent at doing their jobs, and the politicians were so inept at organizing each other and organizing themselves, that was in itself the justification for the Emergencies Act. They were so unorganized that it's the unorganization of our institutions that they needed to get in there and use the Emergencies Act. Now, would there be any justification for that?
I don't think so. And I think the only thing our political class is good at is lying to people and propaganda. Because you notice they keep using this word, they keep trying to wedge this word in there, occupation or blockade.
Mm-hmm.
And my problem is, because I know branding and how marketing works, and I have a little bit of a background in communications. In order to have an occupation, you have to have a blockade. In order to have a blockade, there is actually, I don't know if you know, a legal definition for what a blockade is. You know what a blockade is?
No, I didn't know there was
It's when vehicle traffic and pedestrian traffic is blocked off. Now, I don't know about you. I was there. There's a lot of people walking in and out of downtown Ottawa and free to go and roam as they want on their feet. So I think we can put an end to this blockade and occupation shtick. That's all it is. They're trying to brand and label the convoy, and I'm going to make sure that's it's not effective.
Well, you had a hard time during the convoy with the feet traffic thing. You had a broken foot, was it?
I shattered my ankle on the after I just yelled at Keith Wilson. I shattered my ankle, and so I was rushed to the hospital at night at like 11:30 at night.
Mm-hmm.
They reset it, put me in a cast, and I was back in the hotel the next day, basically. And so I was limited. So what I tried to do was every weekend I would go to the stage to, after Pastor Hildebrand did his service, or during his service, I was be on stage and whatever, just to thank everybody for taking time out of their lives to come support us and to come be with us. I thought I at least owed it to them. And it took me an hour to crutch through the snow and ice to get to Parliament Hill. And I remember the first weekend I had to do that with the cast, and I went up to a cruiser, an OPP cruiser. And I'm like, hey man, March of Dimes, can you help a brother out? And he's like, nope, you'll have to crutch your way up. And I said, rookie.
Oh no.
So it took me 45 minutes to get all the way up to, and they had to lift me up onto stage. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I was basically limited and confined to the hotel. So that's why I just focused on doing as many interviews as possible on alternative media, reaching out to everybody I knew who had a contact, just to get as much eyeballs on the truth of what the convoy was. And that's why we have two movies on one screen. We have people who watch fake news and think that that is in any way an accurate depiction of reality. And then we have actual reality, which are the people who are just streaming on the street, showing pictures of people having dance parties and cooking. The Sikh community came and had barbecues. Not only did they barbecue, it was so funny. Not only did they barbecue for people, but they must have owned some restaurants. So they brought like the packaging for food. So not only were you getting free food, but it was being packaged like you went to a restaurant and they're distributing it to all the homeless people and stuff. It was amazing, right? So that's your insurrection.
That's the insurrection.
Feeding the homeless, something Diane Deans has never done in her life. And all of these people in government who look down upon all of us. And the other thing about the commission that I found interesting and a little bit disturbing was Arpen, who is the chief of staff for what's it called? The mayor who doesn't talk to regular people. He's not supposed to talk to us. Right? He said it'd be highly irregular for the mayor to engage in dialogue with what he called us civilians. So he calls police troops and he calls us civilians. That's a crazy mofo. That guy should not be in government. But that's the type of lunatics that we have in our politics now.
Unless, of course, you go for breakfast with him, then you're a civilized person. That's what we learned in his testimonies.
Exactly.
His breakfast, he has a very, very important breakfast schedule. But so you will be testifying in this inquiry. Do you have a date set for that, or is that still yet to be?
It keeps changing from November the 2nd to November the 3rd.
Okay.
And they said it also might be pushed back a day or so. So I'm just going to come in and have fun. I'm coming in. I'll be there November 1st. We're having a big Bitcoin event. I'm going to speak there. I'm going to have some pre-sale copies of the book and sign some books for people and testify either the next day or the day after. And if I'm not testifying the next day, then I'm going to do my morning stream on honkingforfreedom.locals.com or on my YouTube channel, BJD Online, and just hang out with everybody and talk to everybody, join the chat. And I'll do that the day that I go to testify. I'll hang out with everybody first and I'll go there.
Yeah, of course.
Because remember, this commission is very important for people to understand. People seem to miss this. This is not the convoy on trial. I mean, it's not even a trial, right? This is the government that's in trouble. And the government needs to prove that they didn't violate the law in what they did. It's kind of like, you know, the analogy that I've heard many times, and I like this, is the presumption of innocence is for the citizens, not for the government. So if you have the presumption of innocence goes to the citizen, the other side of that trade is the government, which means there's a presumption of guilt. And that's why we have commissions. And that's why there's rules of engagement for soldiers. That's why there's regulations for police officers. And there's these kinds of investigations, because the government now needs to prove that they did not violate the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, or the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And I'm actually more optimistic than I was in the beginning that the justice who's presiding over this he was not appointed by Trudeau. He's appointed by Paul Martin. I know there's a lot of friction in that party between the Martin Chrétien liberals and the lunatics that are in the blackface regime. And I'm optimistic that he sees this, like any justice in this position would be, that this commission is my legacy. This is where the culmination of decades of service to the legal system. I get to have my name on this commission, which will set the guidance for Canadian jurisprudence for generations to come. And I think he's taking that seriously.
Yeah,
and I'm happy to see that.
Protect the law of the land rather than protecting some schmuck in office. Anyway,
that's right.
So you got a book coming out. That's Honking for Freedom. The release is 11th of November 2022. Get your pre-sale orders. Get your name in there. I'll definitely leave a link in the description down below. But thank you so much for joining me today, VJ Dichter.
Honking for Freedom, the trucker convoy that gave us hope.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Well, get yourself a copy, and thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next one. Hit that like button before you get out of this video, and go check out the link in the description down below for Honking for Freedom. Get your copy coming. We'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.